Meltdowns, monsoons, malfunctions. Here's what you really need to be scared of in Disney World. We're covering it all on DFB Guide. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Vlog. So a Disney World trip doesn't need to be terrifying, Tower of Terror and Haunted Mansion aside, but it can be. So what parts of your Disney trip should scare you and what parts do you really not need to overly stress about? That's what we're getting to the bottom of today, because you know we go to Disney World every single day. We've made a bajillion trips there, and some of this stuff might actually surprise you. We're going to help you prepare yourself in Disney World against all the things that are scary and the things you didn't realize would be scary. So the most freak out worthy things at Disney World are not jump scares or things that go bump in the night. Instead, the scariest things are the activities you might be missing out on or other people altogether. So let's start with that last one. It's kind of an elephant in the room. Ever since the pandemic, we've seen an uptick in anger everywhere, and that includes in the parks. Guests are frustrated about the price hikes and the crowds and the confusing reservation systems, which has led to this mindset of, I spent a lot of money and time to make this trip perfect, and I'm entitled to have a perfect vacation. And absolutely, guests are totally entitled to enjoy their vacation to its fullest, just not at the expense of other people and cast members. We've seen guests yell at cast members when things don't go their way, or cut in ride lines, claiming they're just looking for someone up ahead, or have flat-out boxing matches with others when it comes to snagging limited edition items from the shelves. And that's why Disney had to put up a courtesy rule on their website recently. This rule states, be the magic you want to see in the world. You must always remember to treat others with respect, kindness, and compassion. Those who can't live up to this simple wish may be asked to leave Walt Disney World Resort. So it's basically covering their bases that if you're a jerk, they're going to kick you out. Now, if you come across a rather intense guest situation that doesn't directly concern you, it may seem tempting to jump in and attempt to be the peacemaker, but it's much better for you to instead just track down a nearby cast member or security guard and stay out of it generally. After all, CMs and the security team have more authority and more training to follow through with that courtesy rule and escort out any unruly guests off the premises. If you are accidentally caught up in an intense interaction, don't escalate the situation or try not to. Step away, reach out to a security guard or a cast member if you feel you need to do so. But if it's a matter of someone trying to fight you over the last limited edition Spirit jersey or Loungefly, then just tap out. I know that may sound lame, but I think it's going to end up better for everybody in the end. Not to mention, you might still be able to find that limited time item at a different gift shop or on Shop Disney online, which could have a discount. So who's the real winner now? So starting out with that really scary situation, or what can be a really scary situation, this next one is not so bad, but it's definitely not something that you want to invite. And that's missing those important reservations and those important things that you got up really early a couple months ago to plan, right? If there's one thing for certain you do not need to take lightly, it's those reservations. Some of them are really expensive. Before your big trip, you're going to need to make some important reservations in advance. These are park pass reservations, dining reservations, special experience reservations for things like Savi's Workshop, Build in Your Lightsaber, or the Tron Identity Program in Tomorrowland, and hotel reservations too, of course. But what I really want to hone in on today are the reservations that can wind up saving you a lot of money. On Disney's special offers, deals, and discounts page, you're going to find a specific promotion that fits exactly what you're looking for when it comes to saving money on your vacation package or Disney hotel. Hopefully. Let me use a specific example from a deal that's going on per the release of this video. Disney is currently promoting a 10 to 30% discount on stays between July 11th and August 20th, and between September 15th and September 28th. The percentage off you receive depends on which hotel you choose, as well as which time frame you decide to visit. Now, that's fine and dandy, nothing scary about a hotel room discount, but let's take a look at that fine print. Disney states that the number of rooms is limited, meaning if you're wanting to apply this discount to, say, your upcoming Disney's Coronado Springs Resort stay, but you wait until the last possible second to book it, then all the discounted rooms could be booked up. It's also important to see if a certain Disney promotion has a cutoff date that'll happen before a deal goes into effect. Take, for instance, that dining promo card. That was a gift card available for certain hotel guests that could be used at different Disney World restaurants. The card's value could get as high as $750, and it was just given to you. It was basically free with your hotel room purchase. Now, I know I'm talking about these cards in the past tense, but they technically won't start being distributed until June 25th through September 14th, 2023. But the dining promo card offer was only bookable through March 27th. So there are guests that will be receiving these dining promo cards later on in the year, but for those trying to book a trip now, that promo card is no longer an option that can be added onto your vacation package. So the moment you and your group decide that you do want to go all in on an epic Disney getaway, start checking that special offers page pronto. And don't forget to click on the offer details so you know exactly when the cutoff time is for a certain promotion. And so you know how extremely limited these can be. If you're getting the heebie-jeebies already, just thinking about missing out potentially on hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of savings, you can always turn to our pals at Small World Vacations. These agents watch Disney's promo page like hawks and are ready to hook you up with the best savings possible so that you don't have to stress over it, you don't have to get on the phone and wait hours in a queue to change your reservation, etc. Because Small World Vacations makes their money off of saving you money, as well as helping you book your trip, their services are free to use. So it's a win-win, and they will take care of rebooking your trip to get that discount. You don't have to lift a finger. I'll link the information for them in the description below, just in case you want to reach out for a quote. All right, I put this next one in here because it can cause major problems, wreak real havoc on your Disney trip. And that's the transportation times to get from here to there. I go to Disney World all the time. I'm fully aware of how long it takes to get from here to there, and I'm still late for everything because A, I have a really bad understanding of time and how it works, and B, it just regularly takes a lot longer than you expected to get from here to there. If you're at a hotel that has an internal bus loop, like Disney's Caribbean Beach or Coronado Springs, you could get caught hopping onto a bus thinking you're making great time, only to find out your bus has to stop at 4, 5, 6, or maybe 7 other bus stops to pick up even more people before taking you onto the park you've got advanced dining reservations for, which could mean an extra half hour of travel time before you even get out of the parking lot. And that could in turn make you late for that dining reservation you made 60 days out. And that means you could lose that advanced dining reservation completely and have to pay $10 no-show fee for every single person. Can you tell I've had this happen to me before? Yes, you can totally tell. Study up on your resort's map online. See how many bus stops you can find placed around the hotel. If there are more than one, you'll likely be part of an internal bus loop. That doesn't mean you'll need to steer clear of these hotels, but it does mean you'll need to factor in at least an hour's worth of extra transportation time into your schedule when you do plan on using those bus services, just to be on the safe side. And if you need to get somewhere in the middle of the day, you're not going to see quite as many buses going in the middle of the day. This is something we don't talk about very much here. Disney definitely has more buses in rotation during opening of the parks and closing of the parks than they do in the middle of the day. There have been times that I've tried to get back to my hotel in the middle of the day, and Disney Transportation actually had to call a kind of mini bus to come get me to take me back to my hotel because they really didn't have any buses coming for quite some time. So if this is the case and you have anxiety and you're nervous about getting where you need to go on time, you might want to have a budget for rideshare services like Uber or Lyft or minivans found on the Lyft app in case you're running behind and don't really have an extra hour's worth of time to wait on that bus to get you from point A to point B. Plus, another issue, which I know most people aren't going to care about at all, but if you're going someplace nice for dinner, like maybe you're going from your Coronado Springs Resort Hotel over to California Grill at the Contemporary Resort and you've got to take 2 buses to get there. It is very hot in Orlando most of the year. You're standing outside waiting potentially 20 minutes for a bus. If you're all dressed up and you showered and you're looking really nice, standing outside for that length of time and then potentially being pressed into a bus with a bunch of different people means you might arrive at your fancy dinner not looking or smelling the way you did when you left your hotel. So consider getting a nice, fast, air-conditioned rideshare to get you to those fancy dinners as well. Now, another point here, let's talk about the Transportation and Ticket Center. This can also be a bit of a nightmare. Picture this, it's the end of the night at Magic Kingdom, happily ever after, just set off its last firework, the crowd goes wild, and then the nighttime hysterics commence. Guests funnel out of Main Street USA in droves. It is absolutely atrocious when you actually see how this works at night. They try to make it out of the park. There's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people leaving at the same time. If you drove to Magic Kingdom, or you're planning on taking a rideshare back to your hotel, or if you're staying at a Good Neighbor hotel and using their shuttle service to return to your room at the end of the night, then you'll have to keep fighting these masses to board either the ferry or the monorail first. The ferry and monorail will take you over to the Transportation and Ticket Center, where you can finally get on your shuttle or rideshare in your car. But depending on where you might have parked if you drove, you may have to use yet another transportation service, like the parking lot trams, just to make it to where your car is. It's not totally out of the realm of possibility for this whole procedure to take up to an hour or more, which will feel like the longest hour possible when you're exhausted and your feet are killing you and your kids are crying and your spouse is asking you why in the world you spent this much money on this vacation. Now, if you're staying at one of the Disney World hotels and you're using their bus service to get around, you won't have to worry about the Transportation and Ticket Center, but you're still going to have to deal with the massive bus lines. Honestly, I like to stick around Magic Kingdom after it closes, since Main Street USA shops stay open for an extra hour. Just find yourself a seat on a bench, watch the masses continue making their beelines toward the exit, and use this time instead to savor your last moments inside the Magic Kingdom before it's time to go home. Because you're either going to have to deal with these crowds in a bottlenecked line, just waiting for the next bus or boat or monorail to come pick you up, or you can wait out the crowds the same amount of time with a view of Cinderella Castle and maybe one last Mickey Mouse Rice Krispie treat from Main Street Confectionery before you hit the road. That's a better use of that time than being out there in those lines, believe me. It's also not a bad idea to watch Happily Ever After from back towards the train station, so that you can be one of the first folks to exit the park. If you're really anxious to get out quickly before everyone else does, you can start to make your getaway during the grand finale after Tink flies down from the castle. But that's only if you don't mind cutting the show short. And let's talk walking paths. Even the walking paths from the parks to the hotels can be intense and kind of creepy at night too. And sure, they're convenient, but sometimes those pathways from the parks to the hotels, like the one from Hollywood Studios to the Epcot Resort area, can be pretty eerie and kind of desolate. Even with the lights illuminating pathways, they can still get very dark and quiet. What's even spookier right now is that the walking path from Disney's Grand Floridian to Magic Kingdom, as well as the walking path from Polynesian Village Resort to Magic Kingdom, are currently closed while heavy resort construction is underway. But these pathways are projected to reopen later this spring, which hopefully means sooner rather than later. In the meantime, you can still take the monorail or boats to get back to either hotel, and we'll let you know just as soon as these pathways open for everyone again. Of course, all of these paths are usually quite safe, but that doesn't mean the dark and quiet can't get to your head, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't stay vigilant. It's best to travel these paths with a partner or with your entire group, especially when traveling at night. Now, speaking of your group, the next thing to be scared of in Disney World, and let's just be honest, this is probably the most relatable thing that we all encounter, is those family meltdowns. Siblings breaking out into fights in the middle of hour-long queues, teens rolling their eyes at anything their younger cousins want to do, parents at their snapping point when their kids keep begging for that $300 Lego set. In a sudden turn of events, the truly scary part of the Disney World vacation could become your very own family. The combination of intense heat and super long days of walking and thousands of steps, early mornings, dehydration, so many lines can become the perfect storm for major arguments and temper tantrums. And don't forget, you're adding money into all of this too. So how can we nip these meltdowns in the bud before they reach a boiling point for you? Well, sometimes you can't, sometimes it'll just happen and you just gotta be prepared for it. But first off, keep tabs on everybody, including yourself. Check in with the group often, see what individual needs need to be met. If the kids are tired of waiting in lines, find a show or attraction you can experience quickly, like Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor in Magic Kingdom or Living with the Land in Epcot. If your teen is getting bored of those lame Disney rides like Dumbo and the Flying Elephant, Alien Swirling Saucers, and like Living with the Land again, which is totally not lame, by the way, teens, if you're watching, see if they can partner up with someone in your group and split out from everyone so they can go do the bigger thrills like Tower of Terror in Hollywood Studios, Test Track in Epcot, Tron in Magic Kingdom. When it comes to souvenirs, set boundaries ahead of time. You may even want to load up on a few Disney gift cards with a set amount of merch money for each family member. Once they spend it, then that's it. That's what they get. So remind them to use that money wisely on items that they really, really want to take home. By the way, you can actually save 5% on Disney gift cards when you buy them with your Target Red Card, meaning you're essentially spending money to get more money. And don't forget, fatigue happens, whether you're having the best day ever or not, so try to stick to a routine that'll help everyone keep their heads on straight. Head back to the hotel and take afternoon naps if need be. Choose a few days to sleep in rather than get up earlier than the sun does. Eat enough food and drink enough water. This is where things go off the rails the most. If you get someone who's hangry or someone who's dehydrated and just feeling awful, it'll sneak up on you. It's not something that you expect to happen. So have your snacks in your bag and be prepared. One last note, if someone in your group is running on empty but everyone else seems to be doing fine, it's still important to not push that person to their breaking point when the majority are ready to keep on trucking. Even if a family member claims to be okay because they don't want to be a burden on the rest of you, it's still a good idea to duck into a quick service location for a bit, find a table, maybe just a snack, rehydrate for half an hour. You'll be amazed at what a little AC, a little water, and a little nourishment can do for you and your family, including keeping the meltdowns at bay. Believe me, it happened to my family multiple times that we thought we were at our breaking point, and we just went into a counter service restaurant, we ordered some fries to split, had some water, and felt much better on our way out. So this next one, we're kind of in the middle of our video here. I've got a bunch of stuff coming up that shouldn't scare you, that sometimes does. But this one's in the middle. This is something that you should and shouldn't be scared of. Oh, you're confused, and I get that. But this can be intimidating, but it doesn't need to make you panic if you plan ahead. What am I talking about? Hurricanes and that wet season. Orlando's afternoon drizzles are no big deal. A rainstorm here and there, fine. But a hurricane or an outright monsoon, those can be way more intimidating and they can be scary. Hurricanes are often predicted to make landfall in Florida between June and November, so like half the year the state's in hurricane season. Now that doesn't mean you're going to be seeing those hurricanes happening consistently. More than likely, you probably won't have to worry about them at all. However, we did run into 2 major hurricanes and tropical storm systems in 2022. Hurricane Ian, which happened just before Epcot's 40th at the end of September, and Tropical Storm Nicole, which happened around the start of Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party around the beginning of November. If you happen to be in Disney World when one of these major storms are taking place, you do not need to be scared for your safety. In fact, when it comes to places you can bunker down to wait out the storms in Florida, Disney's one of the safest places you can be, which is why even locals will get a room at the hotel for a couple of nights when they know a hurricane is approaching. Disney buildings are engineered to withstand winds and weather and also have backup generators just in case the power is to go out. Disney also has solid policies in place to help keep you and cast members safe. At the hotels, you'll be able to purchase packaged meals and snacks, though Disney does encourage you to pick up any last-minute groceries before the storm impact ahead of time, if able. But Disney also shuts down the parks when conditions are potentially dangerous, and that's great. No one needs to be trying to get on Journey into Imagination with Figment during this time anyways. Priorities, y'all. However, a closed park means the trip you've possibly been planning years for suddenly has to be canceled or cut short, and now you gotta figure out how on earth you're gonna get your money back. Fortunately, Disney can and will give you a refund under certain circumstances, and you don't have to be stranded in Orlando to receive it. According to the Disney website, if a hurricane warning is issued by the National Hurricane Center for the Orlando area or for your place of residence within 7 days of your scheduled arrival date, you may reschedule or cancel your hotel packages and most room-only reservations booked directly with Disney without any cancellation or change fees imposed by Disney. This is why it's often better to book a room through Disney directly than a third-party site like Expedia or Travelocity, where the hurricane cancellation policies or cancellation policies in general can be less clear-cut. It's also not a bad idea to add travel insurance to your trip. If you plan on vacationing during hurricane season, Disney's Travel Protection Plan provides full refunds for not just your vacation packages, but for your airfare and other various travel expenses. That way, if you don't want to rebook and you just want to cancel everything in its entirety, you can do that and get your money back. I'll add the link to the Travel Protection Plan down below so you can read the terms and conditions and exclusions on your own time, and please do read that small print. But what if you're already in Orlando, in the midst of all the storm warnings, refreshing that little cone every day to see if it's tilting even the tiniest bit more towards Central Florida? Believe me, we have all been there. Well, if you're able, have a contingency plan and get out of the area ASAP. I know how tempting it is to want to stick around and hope things clear up, because sometimes they do, but you're liable to get stranded from flight delays and cancellations. Not to mention, rental cars are going to be real tough to come by, and extending your Disney hotel stay could also be very tricky. If other guests have already claimed your room, you may not be able to add on more nights. But if all of that fell through and you are in your Disney World hotel tucked away during the storm, you don't have to worry about the kids going stir crazy as you ride it out. Disney will work their hardest to keep the entertainment coming. Often you'll be able to stream Disney movies for free, play complimentary arcade games, and you might even be able to meet and greet your favorite Disney characters in the lobby. If you're at Disney World and you haven't been chucked into hurricane mode, but the rain keeps coming, don't be surprised by flooded areas around the parks too. Keep an eye on the AccuWeather app leading up to your trip and plan to pack a little differently than you normally would if you see that a major storm is predicted to pop up in the middle of your vacation. Bring things like extra socks and quick drying sandals, plastic Ziploc bags for your electronics and money, ponchos, and umbrellas. So next, let's talk about some things that a lot of people think they should be scared of in Disney World, but you shouldn't be. Sometimes the thought of something is worse than the actual something you're stressing over. Apply that to your Disney World trip and life in general. I hope I can. So let's talk about the things that seem like they should be scary in the most magical place on Earth, but once you peel back the layers, they're more bark than they are bite. The first is those ride malfunctions. Tower of Terror sends you plummeting 13 stories. Tron Light Cycle Run launches you across the grid, and Expedition Everest, The Legend of the Forbidden Mountain, has its track ripped apart by a Yeti. So, with all this excitement going on, let's be real here. Are these rides actually safe to experience? Well, absolutely. Every morning before the parks open, cast members perform safety checks by cycling the ride vehicles and walking through the entire length of the ride tracks. This process is usually verified by a second cast member, so there are at least 2 sets of eyes on everything at all times. Then there are the third shift cast members, including ride mechanics and ride safety specialists, who work overnight every night on each attraction to run routine safety inspections. They address any bugs that may have popped up during the day and, of course, ensure the attraction is safe for guests the following day. There are also many sensors and fail-safes in place throughout each attraction, which will immediately stop a ride if something goes awry. That explains one of the reasons why Omnimover rides like Haunted Mansion and Under the Sea Journey of the Little Mermaid might suddenly pause in the middle of your ride-through. The cast members of each attraction are thoroughly trained to know all of the safety features that are specific to the ride they're assigned to, and will respond swiftly and accordingly should something go wrong. So what happens when you're on a ride and it experiences an actual breakdown? Well, ride breakdowns happen, and they happen more often than you might think. But if you happen to be on board a ride that's experiencing some technical difficulties, rest assured you're still going to be safe. Sometimes rides stop for a bit, but the issue can be fixed pretty quickly and get you back on track ASAP, literally. But other times, the issue is a little more extensive, and cast members will have to go to each vehicle and help guests evacuate. The best way to help speed up this process is to just follow the cast members' directions. They know you're antsy and ready to get out of there, but they've also got to make sure everyone continues to get out safely and sound. So just hang tight, take a deep breath, wait for further instructions. More than likely, if you have to be evacuated off a ride, you'll receive a free lightning lane to use when the ride comes back online later on in the day, or you may want to use that lightning lane for a different eligible ride instead. Plus, it's always kind of fun to get a backstage look at some of these rides, right? And that's what you'll get to do if you're evacuated. Next thing not to be scared of in Disney World is the Skyliner. Okay, I know there are some of you out there going, no way are you getting me on one of those shaky sky gondolas high above Florida's constant stream of traffic. And if you're one of those people who are apprehensive when it comes to all things heights, then yeah, I can see where that fear would creep up for you. But I want you to all know that those Skyliner wires you're nervous about, they're not going to suddenly snap or anything. This transportation service is pretty safe. That being said, the Skyliner hasn't always been flawless, per se. Less than a week after it first opened, it did experience a malfunction that left guests suspended in the air for 3 hours. Just a couple of years later, in April 2021, there was a minor Skyliner collision where no one was hurt. And just a few months after that, in 2021, some gondolas crashed once more while coming into the Epcot Skyliner station. Again, no one was hurt. I know, I'm really selling you on the whole do not be afraid point, but I promise it gets better. Yes, the Skyliner has had some rocky moments, but 2021 was the last time there were any concerns that Disney's had to address. The important things to take away from these instances, however, are that A, guests were never harmed, B, these hiccups have been few and far between, and C, Disney knows how to address these problems quickly. Okay, quickly now. The 3-hour fiasco is definitely the outlier here, but at least we got to see what's in those emergency kits under the seats, right? Nowadays, if there seems to be a slight or big hiccup going on with the Skyliner, Disney immediately stops the ride and performs a multi-step safety check to protect guests from any further malfunctions. Chances are you've probably experienced a few safety checks before on a Disney ride without ever realizing it, when your vehicle paused momentarily and then resumed motion once again when the issue was cleared. If your Skyliner pauses mid-flight, don't panic, that's totally normal and sometimes doesn't even have anything to do with a safety check. Sometimes the Skyliner takes a quick pause to help a guest who needs a little more time boarding to not have a stressful time restraint on their back. If something does happen to the Skyliner and you do hear an announcement stating that you'll be suspended in the sky for longer than you were originally planning, note that Disney will make sure to get things up and running as quickly as they can, but there are those emergency packs found underneath the Skyliner wooden seats, which Disney will instruct you to retrieve if the Skyliner stalls for an extended period of time. These include cold packs, bathroom bags, notepads, light sticks, and water. If for some reason the Skyliner is down for the count while you're at Hollywood Studios or Epcot, which tends to happen during the bad weather, but you were planning on using it to get back to your hotel, Disney will redirect you to the Disney buses instead. It might not be as thrilling as riding aboard one of those sky gondolas, but hey, they'll still get you to where you need to be. The next thing you shouldn't be scared of in Disney World is allergy and food concerns. If you're afraid to eat at Disney World because of a certain food allergy, listen up here. Okay, Disney works really hard to make sure all guests can find something to eat that fits their needs without sacrificing flavor and quality. In fact, Walt Disney Parks and Resorts have received FAIR, Food Allergy Research and Education Awards, for dedication to providing a safe and enjoyable dining experience for vacationing families, so you know they mean business. If you're planning on dining at a table service restaurant during your trip and need specific allergy accommodations, here are some tips. First, make sure to jot down any special diets while making your advanced dining reservations online. Second, email the Special Diets Department, special.diets@disneyworld.com, or call them at 407-824-5967 prior to your trip. And 3, talk to a chef or restaurant manager when you arrive at the restaurant, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Your server should also ask you before taking your drink order if there are any allergy concerns that they need to be aware of, but if they forget to ask, you can always remind them regardless. Most all Disney World restaurants also have allergy-friendly menu options, which you can check out online before your meal. Some of our favorite Disney table service restaurants with the best selection of allergy-friendly entrees include Skipper Canteen at Magic Kingdom, Tiffin's at Animal Kingdom, Le Cellier at Epcot, and 50's Primetime Cafe in Hollywood Studios, unless you're allergic to public humiliation like me. And don't stress over the quick services either. When you get to one of Disney's fast food joints, you can and should request to speak with a cast member who can guide you accordingly. It's always a good idea to speak to a chef as well, since they're the ones actually making the food. Additionally, mobile order on the My Disney Experience app is also a really easy way to help you navigate those allergy-friendly choices. Just search for the restaurant you want to order from and select the allergy-friendly icon, which looks like a triangle with an itty-bitty fork in the middle. From here, you'll not only see different entrees, you'll also see them categorized with allergy-friendly options that include gluten and wheat, egg, fish and shellfish, milk, peanut and tree nut, and soy. If none of these categories fit your particular special diet, then it's best to order in person and not through the mobile order to make sure your specific preferences are still accommodated. Although plant-based items will be indicated in the menus as well. And now, let me introduce you to some of our favorite fast food locations for those extensive allergy-friendly options. Flame Tree Barbecue in Animal Kingdom, Sunshine Seasons in Epcot, Columbia Harbor House in Magic Kingdom, and ABC Commissary and Hollywood Studios are all good options. But again, there are so many different restaurants on Disney property, and they all have allergy-friendly options and very detailed allergy-friendly menus. If you want to learn even more about them, make sure to check out our 2023 DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining, now available over at dfbstore.com. Just don't forget to type in code YouTube for some extra savings on your purchase. Now, this next one you shouldn't be scared of is actually kind of a cool little tidbit of information. Don't be scared of the fireworks starting an actual fire. Anyone else out there wondering, how does Disney set off all those fireworks every single night without accidentally burning the whole place down? Much like the attractions, Disney has a lot of safety procedures in place for the fireworks. This includes measures to make sure the pyrotechnics don't just so happen to start a fire on the ground. For example, the rooftops of Fantasyland have a sprinkler system that's turned on before the Magic Kingdom fireworks to prevent any debris from becoming a fire hazard. So if you ever notice water pouring off the roofs in the area after a fireworks show, even though there's not a rain cloud in sight, now you know why. Also, not all the fireworks for Happily Ever After are shot off directly inside the Magic Kingdom. Lots of them are actually shot off in a fireworks bunker outside the park and just past Fantasyland. They just look way closer to the castle than they actually are. Now, back in December of 2021, Cinderella Castle did experience a minor fire that had nothing to do with the fireworks and more to do with an electrical mishap on a junction box outside the castle. But the situation was immediately addressed and emergency response vehicles arrived at the scene. That was quite a situation, seeing Reedy Creek fire trucks in the middle of the hub in Magic Kingdom. But the very next day, everything was running like normal as if nothing had ever happened. Very creepy. I know I've said this countless times, but it never becomes not important to say. If a rare situation like this does happen, listen to the cast members. They've been trained for emergency evacuation situations and will make sure your family is safe as long as you follow their orders. These may be more stern than you're used to hearing from these magic makers, but that's because their priority is your safety, not your entertainment during these times. Hopefully this helps put your Disney World trip in perspective for you. Even the things that should scare you can be avoided or at least planned for in advance so they don't hit you out of nowhere like an Alfred Hitchcock shower scene. Keep checking back here with us and we'll continue to check for the Disney World planning monsters that might be lurking under your bed, because more than likely we'll be able to show you there's nothing to be afraid of and you're going to be just fine. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.